Do you have Siguri on or no?
No, I don't have any of them on.
Oh.
Meryl made me download two.
There, I got it back.
Okay.
Blue Ring Gaming is live.
Really?
Never would have guessed.
I feel like I know him from somewhere. I can't put my finger on it.
There you go, if I update the title. So if I host... Don't connect to the master server, welcome to the standard room, or welcome to the casual room. Well, I'm gonna have it online, so that...
I didn't like the same thing Meryl did with the IP test again.
Velocity test. Should I have a password on it?
On what?
On the room for the thing.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Don't want like random people yelling penis in the freaking lobby.
Yeah, that's what the password's for.
Exactly. Why is it useful?
Go. Alright, so you're gonna be. It's gonna be a. I wasn't talking to you, Alexa. Jesus. No, I wasn't. Jesus.
You like to play Skyrim?
No thanks. So, it's going to be available on the public server list. Just look for aerobic hydrosity test. And the password is, wait, let me just make sure. Hold on. It's the same thing as the Hamachi server. So, boop, there you go. You should be able to join.
Well, first of all, I gotta find it.
Well, maybe you have to close and open it again, because I did just start it.
Well, I refreshed it. I'm refreshing it.
50 laps. Oh dear. Do 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 do. Huh?
So you gotta do this thing. My God. Go back. Oh Jesus Christ, that's a big bastard.
What?
Silver browser interface. Go. Oh Jesus Christ, that is so long. Okay.
What?
Okay.
What's going on?
This was randomly generated, right? Your password?
No. I generated the password myself.
Yes.
It's Pingus again.
That. Whatever that. I hope I typed it in correctly.
Hold on a second. Like, can you screen share real quick so I can see exactly what the problem is? Also, I don't like that the game straight and closes itself every time you look away, and then you have to go and click on its icon again.
Yeah.
That's kind of annoying. I wish... Oh wait, if I set it to not full screen... If I set it to not full screen, it just works.
Wait, what the balls? I could have swore there was a Jigglypuff right there in front of me. Not Trico.
Wait a minute,
Okay, done. Screen share real quick.
hold on a sec. I need to modify this again, because now I've fixed the whole problem of it just being like... how do I explain this? I've basically fixed the fact that it, Yeah, no, I don't know how to explain this. What?
You're not in the room anymore?
No, I am. It's, I've basically fixed that it's not a window, which means I might actually be able to make it a window at this point. Like an actual window capture. Yes! Oh, thank the heavens. I don't need to share my screen all the time anymore.
Good.
If I just boot and set to center, bolt to the back, and pull this to the back. What's this? No, what's this? That's just as blank. I don't want that. But dude, finally, after all this time, I finally figured out how to make it not suck like a lot.
That's good.
Oh, I quite like it much better this way. Uh-oh. Well, I'm just gonna die. Still having problems finding it or connecting to it?
I'm just having trouble connecting to it.
Huh. Do you think you should host then?
Let me give it a view. Hold on.
Oh, owie. That's jeez, that part of the song.
It's stuck in your.
Yeah, I made it.
Favorite server.
I can press select to pause. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Good job, you figured it out.
Press select to pause the whole goddamn thing. Cool.
Alright.
Did it give you an option to put in the password?
Okay, well, hold on. Am I still screen sharing? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this.
I just started looking.
Okay, well, you see this down here says it says address.
Oh no, that's not right. Don't do that. Go to Internet Server Browser. Next page.
There is no page.
Previous page?
Ray server.
Try going from standard to casual. Try going to offline mode. What the hell? I'm connected. Hang on, let me make sure. Oh, jeez, I just closed out the whole thing again.
Woo!
Yeah, allow thing, do good. Yeah. Internet LAN aerobic hydrosity test. Oh, I've been in offline mode.
So you have to go to online or?
Yeah, I had to do that, yeah. Alright. Boom. Bam. Okay. Now try. That might work a little better. You're not gonna do anything if you just...
I'm hitting the freaking refresh button so I
Go to page 2.
Yeah, I'm going to. Because I'm hoping.
What? Where the hell? I set it to freaking...
Am I not doing something?
Well, that's for hosting.
Wait a minute, moment.
Yeah, if you host, that might work out better.
No, I found... No, this is... I wonder, if I type in what you have, or had... Wait, do I have to type it? Do I have to type in the... aerobic hydrosity test?
Wait a minute. You don't look like you're connected to that Hamachi server. Yeah, you're not connected to the you have to connect to the first one. You have to right... No, stop. Right-click the first one. Go online. That's what's been this problem the whole time.
I feel so stupid. Oh god, I knew something was up with it. God, shit, son of a fuck.
Okay, so just enter the address, the 2584 thing.
No.
Oh no.
Daryl. Daryl.
Ooh.
Maybe.
It looks like it's trying to communicate. Oh, what?
Hold on.
What happened?
Hold on, I'm gonna check something.
Yeah, it's working now. So what? What'd you type in for the?
25.84.70.134.
Yeah, it looks right.
Pingus.
No, that's not right.
Spelled Pingus wrong.
That's not right.
I got it this time. Ass.
No, it's still.
It's not working, Neon.
But jeez, you use. Hold on. That one.
Yeah, I've been using that one, and it's not like.
Try it again.
Okay, fine. Hold on, I wonder if I have to exit the game.
I can change the server browser address? Wow, okay.
You can do a lot of things. No, don't. Fuck me. Okay. This time we'll do it again.
Hold on, don't join yet. Don't join yet. Alright. Now it's good. Technical difficulties! Yay!
For like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're setting it all up. I'm not used to doing this kind of stuff. I mean, like, I am, but not for this game.
Shit, video ready for your work.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're doing everything right. Then again, I have been known to cause problems with my computer. I don't know why.
To be fair, I know we're doing everything wrong.
No, you typed it in right. You typed it in right.
I didn't even touch anything.
That's so strange.
I've been using like a basic like Sonic character. Sonic. So I know I can't be like struggling with the add-on.
Well, it's not letting me join the master server anymore, so I don't know. How about you try hosting?
Oh god, I don't even know how to do that.
Don't worry, I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through it. It's easy.
I'm I'm scary. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Alright, so go to Internet LAN under host a game. Name it or whatever the hell you want. Good choice.
There'll be 5 A's and 1 H. Actually, no, it'll be 2 H's. And an exclamation point. Password?
Just leave it blank.
No, it's the same thing.
No, 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 stop. That's gonna make it more difficult. That's gonna make it more difficult, man.
Oh, shit. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Race. Which one screams at me? Definitely that one.
Well, the moment you click start, I'll be able to join. Ta-da!
Oh my god, it worked! Oh my god, Neon.
Oh, Jesus. Not this. Why do we have to start with this?
Because, I don't know, it looked appealing to the eyes. Oh my god.
Rainbow Road, man! Don't you remember Rainbow Road?
Oh balls, this is Rainbow Road. This is gonna be a long race.
Well, good thing that it's not set with my specifications of 50.
Still do that. Oh my god.
Well.
This is unfortunate.
Mm.
Yeah, no, land on a freaking skull. Like I died. Maybe more.
Damn it. Again? Okay. Sure. Let me just die. Wow. I don't think that's how it was supposed to work.
In the eye.
Like, did you see how high I went?
No, I didn't. I'm like really far back.
Well, everyone on stream, which is, you know, it says 0 people, but
You never know.
yeah, you never know. The YouTube thing doesn't like showing people until they start you guys talking. Yeah. Ugh. That worked better than I thought.
Where's my boy?
Mhm. Okay. No, that was just a lag spike off the edge.
I'm not Twitter.com. So far ahead of me is the freaking.
Okay, good to know. Bananas do not stop our torpedoes.
Oh no, there's a torpedo coming our way. Throw the bananas at it.
Look, you never know.
I mean, throw the cheese. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Sounds like we were part of that.
We did it, guys. Oh no, they're still gonna kill us. Now twist. It was Marmite the whole time. That's why no one likes Marmite.
Oh. Wait, what? My missile just hit.
Oh wow. Oh, I'm up in the air again.
Aw, here we go again.
Hmm.
That's sounds like Meryl every time me and him race. So like.
Do you want to switch to a battle? Because I feel like that might be better for 2 people.
I don't care what it, whatever works. Honestly, I enjoy races. I enjoy battles. I'll figure it out.
Because right now everything's set to default, which might be different from how we usually play it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's do battle.
I need to record that. Actually, no. I'll clip that and send it to Meryl.
Yeah. Meryl, you broke me. Thank you.
We got him, Meryl.
Oh.
I honestly thought this entire stream was just gonna be like technical difficulties and then me giving up because my back was feeling so sore.
It's just my computer is always so problematic, and I don't know why. It's stupid.
I feel like it was still like mine.
Wow. Okay. We both hit each other dead on that one. It's like we're jousting. We just go around and see what item we get, see if it's better than the other person.
No,
Oh, now you're just following me.
dang. Oh dang, I already have one? What else did I get?
I only saw you get hit once.
I feel cheated, but okay. Cool. Great. Would it be the first time I got cheated?
Just like you start running like, ah!
Come on. Joust from very, 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 very far away.
Wow, I'm getting a lag spike. Meanwhile, you got actual spikes.
I was about to say, speaking of spikes. This one's gonna come kill me.
Well, I received 1 point for winning.
It's the best day
Ever. Oh, I remember that old like meme where it's like, this person said they want to play this song at their funeral, but I don't know why. It sounds kind of morbid. Remember that one?
Yeah, I think I do actually.
So just imagine, it's the best day ever. God. So do you think this map just came with the game, or do you think it's a mod of some sort?
I don't know actually. I think there's like maps for like each character, whether it's battle or race, and then like, because I feel like Monokuma wasn't supposed to be in this game in the first place, but as I can add on, I thought this would be like a cool idea for.
Wait, how do you both miss? You should have hit me at the very least.
No, because missiles suck. Missiles straight up just suck, dude. Like, they're kind of like the red shells in like Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart, and just don't work. My boy Dimentio looking like the god of ice right now. What do you have? Oh, you have missile? I have banana.
Mhm.
What you gonna do about it?
That.
Dang. Aha, Monokuma. I saw his penis for a second. It flashed before my eyes.
Oh, nice shot.
I don't know how the heck I hit you there, honestly.
It's called aiming and succeeding.
Monokuma, no, please. Monokuma's waifu. I like this. I like to call this the E.
It's the E-tank.
Kind of does look like an E-tank. They could just put like a picture of like an E-tank up there.
Oh wow! Hello.
Wait, what? Monokuma?
Yeah. Just kind of showing up, being an asshole. He's still following me. What the hell?
Oh, this is the series of unfortunate events.
Why can he only walk diagonally? That's weird.
I don't know. He walks. Yeah, he actually does walk a lot. Diagonal, now that I think about it. Like only Monokuma doesn't know how to walk in a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
Aha, where did you go? I guess where you're around this corner. Monokuma's right there.
Thanks for the heads up.
I just saw him just like pass me on the way out. And I was like, oh cool. Dang, I missed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
I fired, and then I missed.
And then I fired, and Monokuma! And then I shot, and then I'm Monokuma!
Oh, I call bullcrap on that one.
What'd you do?
Monokuma. He's been bullying me this entire race.
It's not a race, it's a battle.
Okay, whatever. He's been bullying me this entire insert thing here.
That's fair.
No, it's not. That's the problem.
Oh yeah. I reached my rest in this conversation. That's not fair. Oh, I like all these maps.
This one looks most fun, just from surface value.
I like this one.
That one I'm not so fond of, just because because of the way you drift here, you easily fall off. In Mario Kart Wii, that one would be great.
I remember playing this one all the time.
Yeah, with those physics, it works awesome, but for these ones, I don't like it so much.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta commit to your turn in this one. In Mario Kart Wii, there's a little bit of room for error. It's like I'm not playing a Kaizo map, I'm playing Mario Kart.
Yeah. Mario Kart. The Kaiser version.
Oh my god, that worked. Uh-oh.
I don't see you anymore. I found you. Where did you go?
I found you! Fake! Wait, where'd you go?
Figure, I think it went.
I'm just waiting for you to approach at some point. Just like sneak attack me from behind or something.
I can't even find you. That's the problem. Aha! Well, that's huh, banana. This will definitely be handy.
Sniped. that was. I just grenaded you.
I honestly, like, I could have backed up, but I was too committed, dude. I was too committed to
Yeah.
the freaking item box, and so, yeah.
Too much momentum going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, have backed up. It would have been like, whoa. Banana, banana. Ow.
Banananon.
Ah. What?
Oh. I thought you were coming on the bottom row, based on the main map.
Down from there.
Do you remember? Have you seen the Super Mario 64 clip? But it's not actually. Oh, nice. But it's not actually like Super Mario 64. It's like get down from the top of that building, and then it's like Mario noises as he jumps across. Have you seen that?
I sound familiar. I don't know. Maybe I have.
Hello.
Excuse you? Oh, I am surrounded by mafia. I mean, bombs.
Hello. Do you see me?
Yes, I do. In fact, don't come down here.
Are you sure you don't want me to go down there?
I don't want you to run into me with those dank shoelaces. Hit me on it. Oh. Huh. I think that all the way through.
Master of distraction.
Master of dimensions, user of distractions.
Uh-oh.
You missed
I call this a dead end. Okay, never mind. I mean, I'm closer to being dead, but it's not an end. Well, I missed.
Then I had a popsicle. Then I fell asleep.
So I guess the popsicle kind of missed his mouth, so he missed.
I just have to use my really sick dodging moves. Oh dang, you haven't even used any of them. Crap. This is a mistake.
It was a missed steak.
Hush. I didn't even do anything. Alright. You know what? Sometimes you just gotta risk it for the biscuit. Or miss.
Gotta miss.
Good plan.
Well, you didn't get died, so.
I didn't get
You did now, but you didn't then.
making a mean message to you, and I'm not pleased.
Spiky ball level 100. Oh, Jesus.
I need one.
Oh look, it chose the same stage.
Oh, frick. Well, I don't like any of the other stages. One of them's a racing map. Alright, I mean, I mind racing, but that track just annoys me. Actually, no, that's actually a decent track. I have totally real item box over here. Wink.
Oh sweet, can I have one of those totally real item boxes?
Yes, Mark. You can. Slick! Oh,
Aw.
dang. Ah, I mistimed it. I was also scared. So that might have something to do with it. But I'm finally glad I get to get another shot at it. I've only killed one person in my entire life, so I'm glad I get another shot at it. Oh, I almost ran into that.
Ooh.
Defense would have been unwinding. Ah, I seem to have missed the bridge.
Oh. I kinda can't follow you on the bridge if you're not on the bridge.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I guess I'm not going over there either. Oh, this is...
Wait, how did I get... What? Oh, it was the bomb.
That you threw over.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
No, you're just hacking, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Things have gone on long enough. Kill him.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Ah!
I hit myself, so
Oh
I think I lose.
my god.
Oh, frick, you had such good banana placement, and I don't.
I don't have good banana placement. I just have enough bananas that it's impossible not to hit one eventually.
Too many bananas.
I get the 20 bananas power up. Should we have just a battle that's just nothing but bananas?
Did you want to?
That sounds like it'd be very, very interesting.
Which map? I don't know how to do that.
If you press start, hold on.
Tricks and secrets.
If you press start, go to options. Server options. Advanced options. That's at the bottom.
Yep. What the?
Hold on, can you press select? Or, wait.
I don't have it. I don't know what the pause thing. That's fine.
Mm.
It's a battle map.
Huh. I guess go back. I forgot where it was, apparently. So go back. Again.
Did I go back?
Maybe gameplay. That sounds like it'd be more right.
And
Yeah, turn on frantic items, I guess, because that sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, too.
frantic items. Oh no, can I come in?
Random item toggles.
Ah, there we go. What does that do? That gets rid of it. Okay.
So basically, just do whatever you want, because that could be interesting. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, this is going to be great, isn't it? Oh, wait, should we just have 10 bananas and that's it?
No, all bananas.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this.
This is going to be interesting.
It's gonna be long. I don't know if this is the right map to do it on. Actually, if any map, I think I do this one.
So this is going to be a banana minefield.
Well, let me see if I can find.
Oh, and we're not going to be able to control ourselves very well. Oh, this is going to be great. What are you doing?
Exploring the options that I have. Oh, you can speak.
Whoa!
Did you hit yourself?
No! You didn't see that.
Yawn.
You didn't see it. You're not watching my stream. You can't clip it.
Not if I haven't.
I'm really just making it more dangerous for me while you just sit there.
Oh no, thank you.
Oh, I almost actually got you from here. That would have been such an incredible
I'm trying to
point.
find like a good map to like put freaking bananas everywhere. Got any suggestions?
I have no idea.
Come on, man.
Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can snipe you.
Okay.
Oh, close.
Back up. No, you gotta back up quite a. That's the
Gotcha.
one.
Oh, Jesus, that's almost too fun.
Possibly the worst map.
I'm scared. Oh, Jesus.
It's either that or the one of the Mario Kart 64 shenanigans stuff.
Oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad.
I'm ready to fall on all my bananas.
Well. There you go, first item box.
Oh, balls! Have you gotten the magic attendant in it?
I have not. I'm just waiting for it. Ooh.
It tends to do this thing where like once like one item shows up constantly, it'll just like stay like that. Like you only get like one certain amount of
Ah.
Because like Meryl said, we were like, he only toggled it to where there was only bombs, and like all we got was the bomb.
item over and over and over again, so we just started throwing them until one of us got like the star or something. Or you know, until one of us was idiots and blew ourselves up. And me. Being stupid.
Well, I'm the one running into my own bananas here.
I think it said I got you like once. So.
Does that mean-
Majority of the time, yes, you did murder yourself with bananas.
Yay!
Just because I can do a special thing.
Hey, look, it's a wall.
Oh my god, how am I gonna do
Woo! That was a little close.
Damn it. And it's my own banana.
Oops. Everything the light touches.
Everything the light touches is your kingdom.
Oh, hi.
Dude, that is so close to me.
Hiya. I made it through your fortress of bananas.
Dang.
Like, one gap was all I needed.
Well, time to go back up there and rebuild my fort.
Why am I stuck? I shouldn't be stuck. Why am I stuck?
Why are you stuck?
What the hell? No, I was gonna go over there and stick and block it off before you could do anything.
Well, I tripped on my own banana again. Huh, one singular banana.
We're just gonna keep going by that ramp, and eventually we're just gonna keep going through it, see what happens.
Oh dang, I could have sworn I got you if Dementio wasn't so stupid sometimes. God bless his soul, but dang.
Hello.
Hello! Oh, my own banana too.
I received 0 points for winning. Because I didn't do a damn.
You didn't do anything, and I'm over here like, I'm just gonna set this here.
Nobody got any score for that. This is like, the game's just like, fudge it. I don't think either of you did anything meaningful.
Hey, we both got her.
Yay! Participation point!
You got a winning point, I got a pity point.
I will only play power plant if it's nuclear. Is it nuclear?
I have no idea.
I can't take that chance. I could have sworn it was going to land on you, and then it started to go on me, and then you, and then it ended up landing on you anyway.
Oh, I'm fine with this map.
I'm not. This one sucks.
I like these type of tracks. I don't know what the theme is. Oh, okay, never mind. This is gonna be a long.
Oh my god, the snipe!
How the heck did you get me, dude?
The snipe! Oh, Jesus. That's beautiful. That...
Actually, hold on. It was so beautiful. Hold on. I gotta freaking go and flip that real quick. Or you can do it. Because I'm not on Twitch right now.
There we go. The new stream tile is banana nana 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 nanas galore. Or it should be, but it's not letting me change it. Damn it. Are you getting in stream?
I'm in stream. Oh, that was cool. That was much cool. You're bouncing around in there too. And then you just got your angle set up, and then boom, snipe.
I'm just spinning around in a circle. I'm gonna get myself killed again.
There, I titled it Man Murdered by Banana.
The frickin' snipe, though. Holy crap.
Okay, I'm back. I'm surprised I didn't, like, come back and there's just, like, a banana, like, trapped everywhere.
I thought about it, but I didn't.
Surrounded by bananas.
I didn't even see anything indicate that you joined, either. Usually I see when somebody joins stream. So maybe my thing's broken.
Oh, you think you're gonna get that? Uh-oh. Yo, you dumbass. Come on, man.
Man, I'm lagging so much right now. There's no reason for me to. Okay, well, I kind of just ran into that for some reason. I don't know why. It didn't matter, but still.
We're turning off this shenanigans.
Do you want to just turn on everything that's possibly exposed? Why am I on this frame?
I got nothing.
Are you seeing which frame I'm stuck on?
Yeah.
That's the last map we did, not this one. But do you want to turn on just like all explosive items?
That's an explosion. That's an explosion.
Ooh. This is gonna be a very explosive battle.
Dude, Jaws or the freaking missiles cause explosions?
Yes.
Explosion. We're so dead. And we're on the same map that me and Meryl played. Freaking Minecraft. So this will be great.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, let's go.
What?
I don't know how the heck yours missed, but okay. Right. Oh, damn.
Ah!
Oh no, did you get hit by your own?
I don't think either one of us came out on top for that one.
No. In the arms of Demetrio. Down the motherfucker. I'm gonna drift right to the bomb. Demetrio, no, wait!
Tokyo drifted to the bomb!
Gas, I'm gonna step on the...
Well.
So that wasn't successful for either.
Ah!
That wasn't successful for either.
Bam.
That wasn't successful for me.
It was for me! This is a good idea.
No, it's not. This is 0 IQ, Neon. This is 0 IQ.
Duh, I like explosions. No, it's good IQ.
No, it's 0.
It's 20,000 IQ.
Hell.
This is going to be constantly terrifying, isn't it?
Oh shit.
Oh, I don't like the relaxing music, because it's about to be not relaxing here in a second.
Oh, Neon.
Yes?
Got a surprise for you.
Ah.
Hey, Neon, I got a surprise for you.
Ow! And it got rid of mine. Gosh dang it.
Psych. Oh dang, you're just still after me. I don't know how it missed me, but okay.
We both got bombs and they both missed. I think mine went in the ocean, though. I don't think that's gonna be good for the fish.
Next thing you know, just like a bunch
Well,
of fish.
this isn't explosive. What's going on here?
Wait, what is it?
It's an item box.
Oh no, that's the explosive item box. If you touch it, you gotta wait for 3 seconds and it explodes on you.
Good point.
Me and Meryl only had that as an item.
Mm. Whoa, frame drops, frame drops, frame drops! What the hell?
You dying by frame drops.
Is everything stabilized? Everything stabilized? Good. How dare you kill me while I'm frame dropping?
I didn't think I hit you actually.
You did.
Oh, I did? I didn't get like a thing that said, you hit me.
Well, I'm missing another bumper.
I saw that bomb, sir. Excuse you.
Ah! Okay, that was hidden in the grass.
Sneak it.
Are you sure it's 0 IQ?
Okay, maybe 1.
100.
1.
100.
No.
100.
Thousands, my man. Thousands. And that's where you go. No, not that smart. Well, jeez, I wonder which map we're going to.
Ghost Valley.
Bakery Way. That's not a battle map, Neon. That's not.
Well, it was on the list. It was on the list of things we could do.
I love it when it like recommends like, hey, you want to do a race instead of battling idiots? Yeah, I got a present. Oh, I see you got me at the same time.
Do, do,
Yeah, I
do,
got you
do.
a present.
So did I.
Thanks.
Ow. yours was very explosive.
Yeah, so was yours. Yours just kind of like blew up in my face.
Yeah, same with yours.
Huh. How weird. It's like we got the same gift. Where are you going? Why is there a bomb? I have so many questions. None of By the power of this bomb.
Do 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 do.
It rhymes with shark. Oh, that's right there.
There's so many bombs just littering that one area.
And yeah, I got a present.
How did we both miss that?
Because you had like an item that was meant for like long range, mine was meant for homing since this game think I wanted
Uh-oh. No! No, don't push me in there!
to. Yeah. Mines everywhere. But mines everywhere. I'm gonna put a flag right here. This one looks suspicious.
Well, I was a little late on that one.
Yeah.
Why do I keep going in the middle? This is a bad idea.
Go in the middle always.
What are you doing?
Just scurrying around. Yeah.
I got a present for you too!
Dang.
Do, do, do,
It's a series of unfortunate events. Hey Neon, I got a present for you.
I got a present for you too! You seem to have opened one of your previous ones.
I put a flag there. I put a flag there. That's mine. I can't confirm. That is a mine. That is not frick.
Oh, Jesus.
How the heck?
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah. Fakery Way. We would have no choice. The name like Fakery Way. What are you supposed to do?
Fake? You are the faker around here.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I got a present. Oh,
Mm.
flew away from me. How the fuck did that hit me?
I don't know.
Yeah, I got a frick.
I got a buffering, is what I heard.
Oh dang. I'm sounding robotic. Marktail.
How many times have we done that now?
Oh, my. This is a series of unfortunate events.
Woo! Not going that direction.
Go that direction.
Oh, Jesus. And how many times have we done that, too?
Or it's either we both miss or we both hit each other. There is no in between. Ah, you think I'm going that way. Oh, frick, that's a mirror. Damn.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, individual that I was throwing bombs and explosives at me. I highly appreciate it. Oh, that's a bomb.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, that's my bomb.
Oh, that's a bomb. Oh, that's my bomb. Oh, I'm dead.
I planted it right there for someone else.
I wonder who.
It's
Couldn't have been me.
It's like putting a sandwich in like the middle of the forest, only to like attract animals, but then you come back later, like, ooh, a sandwich, and then you fall for your own trap.
Jesus. Ooh, a sandwich. Oh, that was mine.
And then you realize, oh, I hate it.
Death Egg's eye. Why are we driving on an eye? That's uncomfortable.
This is what Eggman's eye looks like under his glasses.
So that's why he never takes those dang things off.
And I'm glad he doesn't take them off.
Ugh! Nobody saw that. No, no, none of you saw that. None of you saw that.
I can clip it. How did I miss?
How did I miss?
How did we all
Missed.
Okay, if you miss with that item, then well.
I missed. Again.
Dang.
Woo!
Haha, you can't catch me.
Says the person who was caught.
Jeez. Oh, this is a series of unfortunate events. Alright, this time I got you. By the power of Baby Shark.
No, God, please no. Oh.
I fell off the edge again. Jesus, why put that there?
Jesus, why you do that?
Jesus, why you do that? Oh, okay.
I mean, he's not wrong. Even the Son of God has to have a laugh every now and then, right?
I'm just gonna have fun with this guy. Just like, why did you put that there? Like laughing his butt off. Oh, that's a pumpkin hill.
I tell you what, it's like my life is like some sort of sad novel. Like one that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and then it's just like, oh, right, it's sad, I forgot.
Jeez. That's dark.
But like every sad novel, there's at least one or two high points of it, right?
Not really. It's like he's finally gonna bang me, and then he's like, oh no, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten to that point.
Absolutely. That actually has nothing to do with the conversation we are currently having.
That's like chapter 37 right there.
Chapter 37.
We're only on chapter 8 right now.
This is a long book. Where did you go? I could have swore you were going.
I don't. This map, I don't know if I like this map. I've never played on it before. I just don't even. According to my okay. According to my calculations, you were coming to bomb me, but I couldn't I couldn't know for sure if you were or not. Okay, we're good.
Oh, this is a series. Oh my god, that like scraped the edge of my freaking car. Go get him, tornado. What the balls happened?
I was holding a bomb.
Oh. Dang! Right up the butt again.
Ah!
There, take that.
I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if he's gonna run into that bomb.
God.
And you did.
I just get destroyed by everyone. I was turning that corner, and like, I had like that moment where it was like, it was at this moment, Vamp knew he fucked up.
Yep. Those moments are always the funniest, right?
Pop goes the vampire. I think this is a series of unfortunate events.
Very familiar unfortunate events. Well, that is some very unfortunate events.
Hey, that's my phrase.
No, it wasn't a series of unfortunate events, it was just a single unfortunate event.
actually like scared of this Reaper. Oh my god, it's right there.
I shot too early. I shot and then I missed.
Oh, balls.
That time I didn't miss though.
Miss. Take this totally legit item bomb.
Well, that was a little close.
God, freaking frick. Hey, Neon.
Yeah?
I missed.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh crap, I don't know. Oh. Oh no, it's this map. It's the Mega Block instead of the... Hey, would you like a gift?
Oh, wow.
Dang.
Oh. I just got an email from Twitch. Neonboy MCPC is live.
Dang, really? I never would have guessed.
I might watch that dude later. He's pretty cool.
He's like the nicest out of like a friend group. Arguably. I don't know.
Well, I'm the nicest when it comes to speech. When it comes to playing games, I'm probably the meanest.
I don't know. Have you seen me bully Newt just for no dang reason? Like, I don't know. Newt will just be minding his own business, not doing anything. And then all of a sudden, I just come and just like bump him. I'll turn around purposely just to kill him with an item box.
Aww. I missed.
I got a Sharknado thing.
Uh-oh. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. There's no walls. Okay, I found walls. You know, when I inevitably make, like, highlight streams of this, which is probably going to be a giant pain in the ass.
Oh my god, there's a shark after me. I was down there with the shark, and then all of a sudden I just get targeted, and I'm like, oh. That can't be good.
But you know, when I inevitably make stream highlights of this will be a pretty interesting thing, won't it?
Oh god, you have to, well, it's kind of easy, because you got like an entire like 4 or something hours of just like straight up nothing.
Well, good. Well, I mean, I gotta make stream highlights based on everything. Like,
Oh god.
even the previous streams.
I'd say kind of like towards the middle. I don't remember when Max at the end. He said it like multiple times. Try to avoid that, putting that in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to go back in the stream and see what the hell happened. That's gonna be great.
I think like towards like the end, I literally started losing my mind because like you weren't there, and like I was worried that like some like innocent child was gonna walk into your stream and Max say like the end, and I'll be like, Max, why?
Oh Jesus!
Aha! Take that bomb. It's free.
It's free real estate. Ah, dang it!
Before I did. I'm being targeted.
Oh Jesus! Did you see that bomb circle you and then just crash? Oh,
Yeah, I was in here with Meryl, and like Meryl like threw like one of the things at me, and it just surrounded me, and, like circled me like 3 to like 4 times.
Ah, you know how to stop those things effectively.
Yeah, it's called try and drift, because if I drift, my character just likes to go straight line, just right, none.
Like that?
Yeah, just
Oh, what? Did you see that shot? No, wait. Look at the other side. Do you see that bomb on the other side? I did that. I shot that all the way over there from here. I would just like to admire that for a second there.
I want to get up here to do it. Hold on. No, you should have stayed up there. That is actually a really far distance.
That is. I'm a sniper.
Alright, now I'm gonna be a bully. Where are you? I give up. You know what? Take me home, country roads. I'm done.
Jesus.
Kill me now. In the arms of country roads. Dang it, I
Jesus.
have one thing left. Take me home. Oh.
Country roads, country roads, country roads, country roads. As Darwin would sing.
That's Darwin in a nutshell. I tried to dodge that bomb.
I should not be on this platform right now. That is not.
Not with the item. Not with the item
What?
I got.
Look at this! I forgot to turn off my fly hacks! Apparently! Apparently I forgot to turn off my fly hacks, because look at that! As long as my shadow touches it, apparently, it still counts. Sure. Hitbox? What hitbox? I just float.
Hitbox?
And you know what? If you activate these things, you'll float too.
Thanks, Neon. Max with the weather.
Oh, Jesus.
Everything's gone to shit, says Max. Thanks, Max.
Thanks, Max, for telling us what we already know.
Everything's gone to shit. It's wet. It's rain droplets are raining from the sky. I don't know. Hey, you wanna watch this video? No, Max, I don't. Show it to me anyway. Thanks, Max.
Oh wow, lag spike again. That's great.
Country roads.
Country roads!
That's like Darwin's like battle cry.
Hold on, I believe there's like a rock remix that Alexa likes to play.
No, I know it. I know.
How did I dodge that when I was running like so laggy? Because it's not. I'm not getting. I guess it's not frame drops. It's just my ping is just not going well.
Dang. Oh no, this one's on me. This one's on me. This one's on me. This one's on me. But the power of poor drifting is still on me. But the power of poor drifting. That is the only reason why I'm alive right now.
But yeah, there's a rock remix that I think last time I tried to play Country Roads, that's what she ended up playing. Hold on, Alexa, play Country Roads.
Country Roads by Me First and the Gimme Gimmes from me on Spotify.
The power of Country Roads compels me. Ow. Alexa, resume. Okay, this sounds like it should be part of a freaking battle or a race theme or something. Jeez. Alright, it's probably for the best that I stopped it. My Discord stops my Spotify from playing too much when I'm streaming to avoid like copyright.
Yeah. Especially this is probably You never know, something funny might.
There are too many bombs around here.
Wow, we did do this to ourselves.
I thought I was far enough away. I was clearly wrong.
What the heck are you? Oh, you're up there. I don't want to go up there though.
Is there any safe place?
That's the first win I've had all day. Against you. Hooray, I am happy.
I would say, hey, do you want to invite more people on? But it's like 1:30 at night.
Yeah, I'm probably like leave here in like maybe like a couple more rounds.
Yeah.
Probably call this one maybe the last round.
I'm thinking maybe I should head to bed, but at the same time, I'm not really that tired. So we gotta make this one count.
Yeah. We'll do this one, because I know you've been requesting it for all.
I don't even know what it is. It just looks interesting.
I don't know.
Oh. Ew, what's this? Ew, what's this? Okay, regret, 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 regret,
Regret.
regret,
This stage.
regret, regret.
Oh my god, put me down. Put me down.
Country roads, put me down. Please, I don't want to die.
Oh my god, I got up here.
Oh, you're kidding me. That was my own fake item box.
Oh.
So, how's your day going?
Get up first. Shit.
It's-
Oh. Hey, Nia. Wanna see a magic trick? Snapped a little too early, but.
Oh, Jesus.
Dimentio, Master Dimension's Priest of Crowds. I am Dimension.
Well, I just got up here so I could see you. Man.
Oh, I'm going over here. Take me home, ow. Take me home, ow. Take me home. Let me up here, damn it. Let me home.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to use that yet, but okay.
Take me home. Hi.
I don't think that works, but nice try. How's it going?
No. I'm shaking my head back and forth.
I don't, but I'm shaking my head too. I'm dancing.
I'm trying to dance. It's not working. Oh my god, ow, frick.
Whoa! Whoa! Did you see that airtime?
No, I didn't.
Look back on my stream. That's insane. Like, look back on that. Wow. I thought I was breaking the game there for a second.
I wonder. Oh, frick, I stopped. I have to go back in the clips. Hold on. Oh yeah, that's me just being an idiot. There's us dancing.
There's us dancing. And I get launched in the air by a platform.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I could so have you right now. Do you want to pick a new map and just end your suffering?
Oh dang, I didn't type enough E's. I clipped it, and I...
Can you send me a link to some of those clips? Because I'd like to see some of them.
They're actually in your clips.
Oh. Where do I find those?
Like if you go to like your clips, you can like watch them on your own. And like have fun. Country out. That's out.
Country out. Take me out. To the out.
Country road.
I be out.
You can't die. Haha, you can't.
Whoa!
Haha, frick.
What the hell was that about?
Murder. Dang, I'm trying to get sick airtime, but I can't. That's a bomb.
That's a bomb.
Everything's transparent, so I can't see anything.
Eh.
I've missed these missiles. I can't hit.
Well, they're called missiles for a reason.
I can't hit you with the missiles, but the missiles don't hit me. So I have a weird relationship with missiles. Hey missile, how you doing? Dang it, that's a transparent wall. Dang, I lost. Unfortunate events.
I've received 0 points for winning. Oh, Jesus.
Want to do one more on a better map?
Yeah, let's do one more on a better map.
Which one?
Your pick.
I don't care, because I don't know these like maps so well.
Me neither.
Which one do we all hate?
Oh, Marble Zone.
Marble. Yeah, Marble Zone we hate.
Yes. I love the song. The zone is okay. The battle section is not great.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it awesome.
But now we get explosives, so this is gonna be twice explosive.
Do 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 do. My ping is trash.
How did I miss?
I don't know. My ping was literally trash, so I don't know how you didn't get me.
Is he on? Okay, so like when we were doing this earlier with like
Shit.
Max and,
I had plenty of time to stop, but for some reason I didn't want to.
and TNT, I had like the invincibility, but like, oh my god, and I had like mid invincibility. I was like going through like the jump through the lava, but like while I was in the lava, invincibility cut out, and so I died.
Well, that's not a good.
I wanted to scream, this is a series of unfortunate events, but didn't.
How? How did that happen? How did such events occur? I hear angry typing.
I don't know how to type in chat, but I'm trying to find the button that allows me to be mad at you in chat.
If you press T. If you press T.
Wait, is it T? Oh, thanks.
Oh, well I guess we got one more we have to do.
Alright, we can do one more.
Since it's already chosen for us. Oh lord. Here we go.
Since this one...
Of course. What else would be the first item that we get?
So long.
Like, how are we gonna dodge them this time?
Bad drifting.
Like, how do you... You can't stop them! You literally cannot stop them! Jesus! That can't count. That doesn't count.
Okay, fine.
That one was a terrible one. Whoever gets first hit just wins the whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although I admit you did get first hit.
I did get first hit on it. Dang, I'm winning. If you couldn't tell.
This will be a good one for blowing each other up on.
Oh boy.
A lot of room for japes and tricks.
It's interesting. Good start.
Ah!
Great. Are we starting this thing?
No! Well, this is gonna suck.
Is this gonna be the ultimate comeback? Nah, I don't think so.
Might be.
Okay, well, if I stop being a stupid baby for 5 seconds. Frick.
I just turned on my ultimate gamer mode.
Oh no, he pushed up his glasses. Things are getting. Oh hell.
No!
You get over here.
Ah!
Oh no, there's a bomb.
Still had invincibility frames on ya.
I was joking whenever I said this is a comeback. No, no way. Nah. You seriously think you can beat me? I'm the ultimate my fun.
Do you think you can keep up with me? What? He's caught up! No! Shite.
Ah.
Well, good game.
I'm tired. GG, even though you fell off. That was the anticlimactic ending ever.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Well, guys, that's the end of the stream. If you enjoyed the stream, what do you do with the stream? Do you like it? I don't think you can like streams.
No, I can't. You can. You can only support by following,
Yeah.
donating, and commenting. You can't really comment on stream. Shit, I didn't think that one.
Wait, YouTube you can, because it's just a video once it comes out. So,
Okay.
if you like this stream, hit the like button, and make sure to subscribe, and click the little bell, and comment what you liked about the video, and put your name and social security number in there. Don't.
No.
Don't.
No, but He's joking.
I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Security.
Someone would grab it before I did. So don't do that. That's not
This guy's asking for social security numbers? Ben.
Oh, Jesus. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. I guess I'm a streamer now. Yay.
Streamer, video, which one? Decide, Neon. Figure it out.
I don't know. It's one of the two.
Are you a finer?
I'ma just leave. My people need me. I'm just off screen. See you guys next time. Goodbye.